Ladies and gentlemen, coin collectors, history lovers, and curious minds, welcome back to another fascinating journey into the world of rare and historic coins. Today, we are turning our attention to an intriguing piece from Asia, the 1957 Hong Kong 50-cent coin. To truly understand this coin, we first need to step into the world of 1950s Hong Kong. At the time, Hong Kong was still a British colony. Britain had taken possession of the island in 1841, and by 1898, the famous 99-year lease of the new territories had cemented Hong Kong as a key outpost of the British Empire in Asia. The 1950s were a period of change for the colony. After World War II and the Japanese occupation, Hong Kong was recovering, modernizing, and slowly becoming an important economic hub. But while skyscrapers and industries were beginning to rise, daily life still depended on coins and banknotes that bore the mark of colonial authority, and that is where the 1957 50-cent coin enters the story. Part 2. The coin's physical characteristics. The 1957 Hong Kong 50-cent coin was struck in copper-nickel. It weighed about 5.81 grams and had a diameter of 23.5 millimeters. This coin was part of the second portrait series of Queen Elizabeth II, who had only ascended to the throne a few years earlier, in 1952. On the obverse side, you'll find a youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, facing right, wearing a simple laurel wreath. Around her portrait are the Latin words, Queen Elizabeth II. This inscription reinforced both her royal authority and the colonial connection. On the reverse side, the coin proudly bore the value, 50 cents, along with the words Hong Kong, in both English and Chinese. The year of minting, 1957, was engraved clearly at the bottom. The bilingual inscriptions were essential, as Hong Kong's population was largely Chinese, but British governance demanded English. This balance made the coin a perfect reflection of colonial Hong Kong, two worlds coexisting on one small piece of metal. Part 3. The historical importance. Why does this coin matter so much? First, it represents the consolidation of Queen Elizabeth II's reign in Asia. Coins are one of the earliest ways a monarch's image travels across the empire, and in 1957, Hong Kong was among the first colonies to feature her portrait on circulating currency. Second, it shows the economic growth of Hong Kong. The 50-cent coin was not a tiny denomination, it carried decent purchasing power. In the 1950s, 50 cents could buy a simple street meal, a tram ride, or several household items. Third, this coin highlights the colonial identity of Hong Kong. Long before the 1997 handover to China, coins like these reminded everyone of the political reality, the British Crown's presence in daily life. Part 4. The design influence. Interestingly, the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II used on this coin was based on the work of sculptor Mary Gillick. Her youthful design emphasized freshness, optimism, and a new era after the long reign of Queen Victoria and the turbulent years of World War II. This design was used widely across Commonwealth nations in the 1950s and 1960s, from the United Kingdom to Australia, New Zealand, and Hong Kong. Thus, the Hong Kong 50-cent coin connects not only with local history but also with the broader story of the British Commonwealth's shared coinage tradition. Part 5. Rarity and collectible value. Now, let's talk about what most coin collectors want to know. Is the 1957 Hong Kong 50-cent coin rare? The answer is, not extremely rare, but certainly collectible. Large numbers were minted for circulation, which means most of these coins were used in everyday life. However, as decades passed, many were lost, melted, or damaged. Today, finding one in pristine condition, known as uncirculated or mint state, is much harder. In the collector's market, a circulated 1957 Hong Kong 50-cent coin may only be worth a few dollars. But if you own one in near-perfect condition, the value could rise significantly, especially for graded examples certified by professional services. Beyond monetary value, the coin's real treasure lies in its historical significance and nostalgia. For many Hong Kong natives, this coin recalls childhood memories, colonial-era markets, and the sound of coins clinking in the pockets of everyday workers. Part 6. The transition of Hong Kong coinage. The 1957 issue also stands at an interesting point in Hong Kong's coinage history. Earlier, coins had featured King George VI, who reigned before Elizabeth II. When he passed away in 1952, coins with his portrait were gradually phased out. The 1957 50-cent coin, therefore, was part of the early wave of coins showcasing the new queen. Later on, the designs evolved again, featuring updated portraits of Elizabeth II in the 1970s and 1980s, before colonial coinage finally ended with the 1997 handover of Hong Kong back to China. Thus, this coin is a snapshot of a very specific moment. A young queen in the first decade of her reign, and a colony in the early stages of its post-war boom. Part 7, Why collectors love this coin. Collectors around the world are drawn to the 1957 Hong Kong 50-cent coin for several reasons. 1. Colonial heritage. It is a direct artifact of British rule in Hong Kong. 2. Early Elizabeth II portrait. Many collectors seek out the first series of Elizabeth II coins. 3. Cultural blend. The coin carries both English and Chinese inscriptions, symbolizing Hong Kong's unique identity. 4. Affordability. Unlike extremely rare coins, this one is accessible, making it popular among beginner collectors. Conclusion. The 1957 Hong Kong 50-cent coin is far more than a piece of metal. It is a window into history, a coin that tells the story of colonial Hong Kong, the rise of Queen Elizabeth II, and the everyday economy of a city that would one day become a global financial powerhouse. Next coin. To understand the 1958 20-cent coin, we first need to step back into Hong Kong in the mid-20th century. The year 1958 places us firmly within the era when Hong Kong was still a British colony. After the devastation of World War II, the territory was recovering and transforming into a growing hub of trade and industry. By the 1950s, Hong Kong was beginning its journey toward becoming the financial and commercial powerhouse that the world would later recognize. The population was increasing rapidly, especially as people fled mainland China after the Chinese Civil War. The demand for stable currency was more important than ever, and coins like the 20-cent piece played a role in everyday transactions for ordinary people. The design of the 1958 20-cent coin. Now let's look closely at the design of this coin. The 20-cent coin struck in 1958 was made of nickel brass, giving it a distinct golden color. This material was chosen for its durability and resistance to corrosion, making it practical for frequent use in Hong Kong's humid climate. The coin was scalloped in shape, meaning it had 12 scalloped edges, which made it instantly recognizable by touch. This unique design helped people distinguish the coin from others, even in low light or when quickly handling money. On the obverse side, or the front, the coin featured the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, who had only been on the throne for a few years by 1958. The inscription around her portrait read, Queen Elizabeth II. This was a common design on British colonial coins of the period, symbolizing the connection between Hong Kong and the British Crown. On the reverse side, the denomination was clearly displayed. It read, Hong Kong 20 cents 1958. The English inscription was paired with Chinese characters, reflecting Hong Kong's bilingual culture and its unique identity as a crossroads between East and West. Why the 20-cent coin mattered. Although it may not seem like much today, 20 cents in 1958 carried significant value. This coin was widely used for everyday purchases, small items from street markets, local transport fares, or snacks. For many working-class families, coins like this were essential for daily life. The 20-cent denomination was also interesting because it fit neatly into Hong Kong's currency system, which was based on the Hong Kong dollar. With 100 cents to a dollar, coins like the 5, 10, and 20 cents helped make exact change possible. The global context. The 1958 Hong Kong 20-cent coin was not just a local piece of money, it was also a reflection of broader global events. During this time, Queen Elizabeth II was being featured on newly designed coins across the British Empire and Commonwealth. As countries in Asia and Africa moved toward independence in the post-war years, Hong Kong remained firmly under British rule. The coins of this period, including the 20 cent, are reminders of how deeply the colony was tied to the empire. At the same time, Hong Kong was carving out its own identity. The bilingual inscriptions on the coin, both English and Chinese, show us how the colony balanced its British governance with the cultural roots of its majority Chinese population. Mintage and circulation. The 1958 issue of the 20-cent coin was part of a regular series that began in 1955, shortly after Queen Elizabeth II's coronation. Coins from this era were produced by the Royal Mint in London, which handled much of the minting for the colonies. These coins circulated widely and were used daily for decades. Because they were made of durable nickel brass, many examples survived in relatively good condition. However, finding a coin in pristine, uncirculated condition is far rarer, and such pieces can be valuable to collectors today. Collectibility and value today. So, what is the 1958 Hong Kong 20-cent coin worth today? For collectors, its value depends on several factors: condition, rarity, and historical interest. A coin that is heavily worn from circulation might only be worth a small amount, perhaps a couple of dollars to a collector. A coin in very fine or uncirculated condition, however, can fetch much more, sometimes between $20 to $50, and even higher if graded by a professional coin service. For many collectors, the appeal of the 1958 20-cent coin goes beyond its market price. It represents a tangible link to Hong Kong's past, a reminder of its colonial history, and a reflection of how money connects cultures and empires. Transition in Hong Kong coinage. It's worth noting that the 1958 issue was part of a broader evolution in Hong Kong's coinage. Earlier coins had featured portraits of King George VI, who reigned before Queen Elizabeth II. After 1955, the coins were redesigned to feature the new queen, and these designs continued for several decades. Over time, Hong Kong's coinage would undergo further changes, especially in the years leading up to and after the 1997 handover to China. But the coins from the 1950s capture a specific moment in time, when Hong Kong was rebuilding, reshaping, and finding its place in the modern world. A window into everyday life beyond politics and economics. Coins like the 1958 20-cent piece also give us a glimpse into the daily lives of people in Hong Kong at that time. Imagine bustling markets in Kowloon or Hong Kong Island, where vendors sold fresh produce, fish, and street food. Shoppers would hand over coins like this to pay for their purchases. For children in the 1950s, a few 20-cent coins might buy a treat, a tram ride, or even a small toy. These coins passed through countless hands, from shopkeepers to dockworkers, from housewives to schoolchildren. Each coin carries those untold stories, silently connecting us to the lives of ordinary people more than 65 years ago. Conclusion: the 1958 Hong Kong 20-cent coin may be small in size, but it carries a weight of history. From its scallop shape and bilingual inscriptions to its portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, this coin reflects a colonial past and a society in transition. It tells the story of a growing city, a connection to the British Empire, and the everyday lives of people who used it. For collectors and historians today, it is more than just a piece of metal, it is a reminder of how coins serve as witnesses to history.